Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my November reading wrap up. As you can see, I only read 3 physical books and the rest have been all on my Kindle, so yeah, I'm sure you can already guess. Hermione did take over my life last month and it is continuing on to December, so I just want to put it out there. If you're going to go into my December reading wrap up, there will be Hermione. And you would already know that because of my TBR jar video. You would have seen the books that I've already picked to read this month. I have already started one of them and my god, it's so good, so good. We're doing the November wrap up today. Let me get my phone up because I actually don't remember what book I started off in the month. I'm just going to go from the start of the month through. Oh guys, side note, this top is from Uniqlo. I have never felt cotton as soft as this, and it's thick and heavyweight cotton. You know what it's like trying to find the perfect white tee? I'm not joking, this is the best white tee I've ever owned, and it was, I'm pretty sure it was 19 quid. Absolute perfection. I've washed it as well multiple times. This is also 2 days where I've worn it twice, but I'm in England, I'm allowed to because you know it's here, it's very cold. The cotton is just so soft every single time. Honestly, it feels like it's getting softer. If you haven't already got one of these, make sure you go buy one. It is the Airism, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'll put it up on the screen, but it's so good. The perfect white tee, I'm not kidding. And it's also like a bit of a box cut, so it like sets a new hip. Back to the book. So this book is Divine Rivals. It is a historical, if not many people know that, but it is a historical romantasy, and it follows Iris and Roman. Iris and Roman are communicating to each other through these magical typewriters, but they don't actually know that they are talking to each other. They are workplace rivals, so that is obviously where the Divine Rivals part comes in. They both inherited their typewriters through their families. Yeah, they have like secret love notes, and if anyone knows me, you all know I love that trope. It is something that I fall for every time. It is so cute. Anyway, this is a YA book, so if anyone is reading this, like, do know that there is... Wait, is this new adult? I felt like there was spice in this. Oh no, it sort of went fade to black. Like it started to heat up and then it faded. That's besides the point. The spice is like the least important part of this book. It is so good. The banter, the world itself is like beautiful, but I'm not gonna lie, the romance is definitely like the main pinnacle point of like why it's so great. It's not like crazy plot is good, but it's not what's making the book so amazing. Like, this is definitely a book for the romance girl. It's not fantasy in the aspect of everything about them, like they have magical powers, those sorts of things. It's not fantasy like that. It's more fantasy realism, but not kidding. The romance is so cute. It is so vulnerable. It is like the most tender, beautiful thing you'll ever read in your life. Roman is just so sweet and wholesome. I absolutely love him. And Iris is definitely, she's going through a lot. And like this book definitely has some like touchy subjects. I would definitely say check trigger warnings, because there are some topics in here that are just like, you know, above your usual like light fluffy reads. So definitely still check trigger warnings if you have them. This was a 5-star read. I'm not kidding. It was so magical. Like just the way this author puts words together as well. Like she was like, she had that like the enchanted writing. Like it was very mystical in some of the ways that she would even just describe the most simple things. I really appreciated that because it just made reading it like such a treat. Definitely a 5-star read. I highly recommend. Then I went into another book, and you don't understand. Like, I had the best start to the month. Honestly, I've actually had such a great month, I'm not gonna lie. But then I went into Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. Okay, I'm gonna put a disclaimer out now, because this was a 5-star read for me, but the thing that's upset me is that the next book has been delayed to 2025. Book number 1 is being republished, so she's currently re-editing and just changing a few minor plot points. She said, like, not anything crazy, so I'm definitely still gonna have to reread the new published version. And book 2 is then gonna be pushed out to 2025. So this is my only disclaimer about this book. It is that fucking fantastic, that I want you to read it, but I'm also like, maybe just wait. Fear the Flames by Libby Rose Darling, 5-star read. This is a romantasy book as well. I would say it's a romantasy with a subplot of high stakes. There is high stakes involved, but it's not a high stakes romance. That's all I'm gonna say. I love this book. I absolutely love this book. It had all of the scenes that you just want from a romance book without it being too focused on like tropes. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like sometimes authors at the moment, they're just writing books to base it on tropes rather than actually writing a good book. You know what I mean? Am I making sense? It's got like the who hurt you trope. It has her holding a knife to his neck, those sorts of tropes. It is just it is so good. It's almost, I have a hair in my mouth. It's almost enemies to lovers, I want to say, but I feel like it's not heavy on the enemies, so I'm gonna say maybe more rivals, because although they do like hold the knife and like they're very aggressive towards each other and stuff like that, they don't have much trust for each other. It's still got some hatred, but it's not pure hatred, if you get what I mean. Let me back up a bit because I'm probably not making sense right now. I always do this when I'm explaining books, I just get too far ahead. She is the Princess of Emmerth. I'm gonna pronounce all of these wrong, so please, Emmerth, and she's now a queen of Astilion, which is her new place that she has created herself. So the princess that she is part of, her dad has actually kept her as a hostage because she had the access to dragons and he didn't want her to have the power and take over one day. He wanted all the power to himself, so he locked her up, and basically she was almost a prisoner in her own home. They ran away, her and her best friend, who were also just like not treated very well, and they've now gone away. She's been gone for almost a decade, I would say, and she's now made up her own kingdom. So now she's the queen of this new kingdom, and she's been building up all these people that she's been finding who have also been either forced to leave all the other surrounding kingdoms or even her own kingdom. It's about her building up her army to then take back her dragons from her dad. So that is the plot of the book. So the love story comes in from her father's rivalry kingdom that he doesn't like. The commander of the army is then hunting her down. He makes a deal with her, and she then is taken back to the kingdom with the commander, and they make a deal with the queen and king of that kingdom to use the resources so that they can then take down her father, because he is just like the ruling commander and he has a lot of power, but he just uses it wrong. So they're very like reluctant to unite together, and that's where like the sort of hatred comes in. But then they've also got an alliance, so they have to be sort of friendly, and it's just like them training together and building up to like the moment where they finally do their first attack. The banter was so good. Like, you have to see how many tabs. Like, look at those tabs. He is either flirting with her or she's flirting with him. Like, he gives it, she gives it back just as bad, and it's just so good. And the spice. Like, there is a scene in a brothel. Okay, that sounds bad, but there is a brothel in one of the towns, and there is a scene in the brothel, and it's so... You don't understand. I still think about this scene. This man is feral. This man is feral. Anyway, what I do love most about this book is the found family. Okay, I know a lot of people don't like found family, but I adore found family, and the found family in this book was so good. Like, every single person who comes together, either her best friend and her, because obviously they've left their town, the commander, he has no family, and just like his two best friends as well on his side of the army, they all become like this group of bandits, which, what is their name again? I don't know. I'm gonna put up the artwork that I found on the author's story here and the name of them. I forgot their name. I just love their found family, their group. Even just reading about all the other characters was just as fun as also like reading about their romance, because I was just so invested in all of them. So you'll definitely find that love for all of the characters. Anyway, I've been rambling on too long about this book. I need to move on. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Next I read Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This was a 4.5-star read for me. Loved this book. This was Julian and Dahlia. I'm gonna say it's Dahlia. Dahlia. This was really, really cute. It wasn't a 5-star read for me. I know a lot of people absolutely adored this book, but it just didn't quite hit the same. I think because I'd reading a lot of fantasy before, and it was just, you know how like fantasy and romance, you just can't hit that same level, but it's still like such an incredible book. I loved that at the bottom of the book, every time that they would speak, I'm pretty sure, from top of my memory, I'm pretty sure it was Spanish. Do not quote me on that, but I think it was. It'd have like a little quotation down on the bottom of the page so that you don't have to translate it yourself. I wish more books did that, because the amount of times I've been reading a book and they've just spoken the language that it, like sometimes they don't even say what language it is. It could be Russian, it could be anything, and they just never translate it, or it's at the back of the book and you have to flick between, which is just not easy. Having it at the bottom of the page was the best thing. More books need to do that. It was incredible. Again, the family aspect in this was so good. Like both of their parents were very prominent characters in this book, because they are childhood friends to lovers. Let's not say maybe friends, let's say more like they are rivals. They haven't seen each other in quite a while because of something that happened in their past. They get brought back to their small town that they grew up in. Julian is now a billionaire and Dahlia is also a very successful interior designer, so she is on like TV shows. She was either married or engaged. I honestly, it was the start of last month. I should have checked. Anyway, she is actually then going through a divorce or breaking up with her partner because of something that's happened, and she's now coming back to town, and Julian is he's just very involved in his small town that he grew up in, and he likes to help like Wisteria like all the time. And if you guys all know like the Dreamland Billionaire series by Lauren Asher, she introduced us to Lake Wisteria in that book, so like if you know that, you know it. Basically, because he's so rich, like what he does is he like buys Dahlia a house because his mum asked her to help and was like, can you get her to do something? So he just bought her a house to just do up, because she likes to renovate houses. Just went and bought like a mansion, $1 million mansion on the lakefront, and was just like, yeah, here you go, just for funsies. Like, this is why I love the billionaire romance, because it just like makes my expectations a little bit higher every single time it hits. Like, he can just like, you want it, I'll get it. Yeah, I just think that their banter was really cute, because obviously they're childhood friends, so like they know how to get under each other's skin, like they know how to put that little dig in. And the spice was really good in this too. Hi, I'm jumping in here because I forgot to mention the spice was so good that I threw my actual makeup covered face into my book. There is now a permanent print in my book because of how much it was making me giddy. And if that's not evidence enough of how cute and like good this book is, like I don't know what else is. Permanent. I just had to say. Definitely a deeper read from like the Dreamland Billionaires, like the first few books. I really loved the final offer because that was just like a whole nother level of deep. That did not sound right. It was just a lot more of like the heavier topics, which I do love and enjoy reading about. This definitely has those as well, so definitely check out trigger warnings for this one too. 4.5 stars. This is the portion where I now move on to my fan fictions that I read. So I read 3 physical books and 4 Kindle books, so a total of 7 books this month. And going into the first fan fiction I read, because I have read a couple in previous months, and I wanted to like jump in and see like what the different types are, so I started reading a few different types of Hermione books this month and just seeing which ones work for me. I read Breath Mints and Battle Scars, and this is by Onyx_and_Elm. I gave this a 4-star reading. I thought it was the most toxic, fucked up story about Hermione and Hermione. I was like, where's the other name? I've just combined them. Hermione and Draco, because Draco was just not a good person in this book, and you know what, I enjoyed it. Like, it was fun. Like, he was not nice to her, he was very rude, he was very dismissive. I think this was an 8th year. The only thing that I found that was really weird, it was very long, which I feel like it could have been shortened down, but I know a lot of fan fictions are long, so that was what just sort of like lost my interest a little bit there. The other thing was that every time they had a spice scene, and I know fan fictions have a lot of spice, like it was a very like spicy book. They were always never in a bedroom, and it was always against a wall. I'm like, I don't know, like it was just like, I don't know if it's like their thing, like, but it was very like repetitive in that aspect. I'm like, again, against a wall. That was like my only really comments, but other than that it was just really good. But yeah, I wouldn't go into this like trying to think like it's gonna be like nice Draco and Hermione. Like, he is toxic, he is ruthless, he is messed up in the head. They're both very, very depressed and like not in a good headspace, so you definitely check out trigger warnings, because yeah, it's not like happy dandy love story. So then I was like really into the Hermione, and I was like, I need something else that's gonna hit I need those same feelings that I got from Manacled that I'm chasing, and I've been trying to chase it. I was researching books that give like those same feelings that Manacled would give, and so I found The Auction, and I read quite a few reviews on Goodreads, on TikTok, and people were saying The Auction can be read as a standalone, but if you wanted to appreciate The Auction more, you should read The Right Things to Do and then The Wrong Things to Do, which are the two books prior. I believe they're about 700 pages. The second book was about 500 to 600 pages, and then The Auction was about 800 or 900 pages. I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I feel like I'm gonna commit, because it's already a long book, the third one, and then the other two, obviously I want to just like have the emotional connection to that book a bit more. So I started with The Right Things to Do, and I was like, if I don't like this one, because book one is the story from Hermione's point of view, and then book two is from Draco's point of view, and then book three is the alternate ending, Voldemort wins the war. I went into book one, read that. It was like an office romance. It was, oh my god, why have I forgotten? Let me have a look. This book is a year after the Battle of Hogwarts, and she stands before the wizard Gummort. She's just standing against like the trial that Draco's having, and she is trying to basically get him freed of all of his charges because of all the things he did to help, and you know, she just gets him out of being put into Azkaban. She does that with quite a few of the Death Eaters prior, and then people start to turn against her because they think she's now one of them, and she supports the Death Eaters and like goes through a hard time. And then she then realizes that Draco is starting up his own company, and then she starts working with Draco at his company, and then it just becomes an office romance and them working alongside each other. Look, it was okay, it was good, it was sweet, it was a lot of like, again, it's weird, like it was just a lot of office, having like a relationship outside of the office. Like they didn't really like do much besides other than like bicker and fight in the office, and I was like, I don't know, it was just very repetitive again. And yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It was good, and all I'm gonna say is, if you do want to read The Auction, I would say read The Right Things to Do, but don't read the second book, because I didn't read the second book because I didn't like the first one overly much, but reading that book made me appreciate The Auction so much more. The author did such a good job of like rounding out but all the stories together. But yeah, I don't know if I'd read Draco's point of view, because a lot of the reviews were saying like it was a bit repetitive in the aspect of just like going through the same story in his POV. I didn't really care to read it again. And then I went into The Auction, which is by Loves Bitka 8. I've got to say that they were both by the same author. This one was a 5-star read. I absolutely adore this. So this is where Voldemort has won the war. Hermione is taken as a prisoner, and she is then placed onto the auction, and Draco buys her. He then takes her home and she lives with him, and the entire thing is about them trying to keep up the ruse of him holding her as a prisoner, and like Voldemort believing that he's actually treating her like a prisoner. And so like they have to go to like these meetings all the time, also going to like different parties and events that they have, them sort of like learning to coexist so that they can both survive. It definitely doesn't start out as like, oh yeah, I trust you, like, so it takes a long time for Hermione to realize that Draco's trying to help her, because obviously she's just gone through so much, and then now she's in this position where she's like are you messing with me? Like, I know you're a Death Eater, like blah blah blah. It was really good, and just like the little crumbs of information that get dropped in, which people probably don't even realize, but it all relates back to the first book, and it just made this book so much better. Like even just like small comments, small things that they do, the similar interests that they have, they all relate to the first book, and it was just perfection. Like it was really really great. I enjoyed this book so much. If you are looking for a book that is like Manacled, I would definitely say read The Auction, but make sure you read that book first. Like you have to read that book first. Really really good. 5 stars, enjoyed it. Then I finished the month with The Isolation, which is by Bex Chan. I gave this a 4-star rating. So this is Ron and Harry have gone off and they're hunting Horcruxes to try and take down Voldemort. Hermione is assigned to a room, which she's the only person in the school that has 2 rooms, and she's the most trusted of all the students. Snape actually takes Draco to the principal, or I forgot their, like the headmaster, what's their name again? I forgot. Anyway, takes him to them and says that he needs Draco to be protected because obviously he's made the unbreakable, but the unbreakable what is it? The unbreakable vow. Oh my god, I completely forgot. I was like, the unbreakable curse, the unbreakable bond, the unbreakable vow. And so he has to protect Draco, otherwise Snape will die. In order to keep him safe, they want to keep Draco in hiding, so Hermione's got a spare room. So now they're going to be lived together and they're in isolation for about a year. They're like almost together for a year. No one in the school can know, no one can know besides those 3 people. Draco sort of goes a bit crazy and insane and becomes very dependent on Hermione because like he's like, he has nothing to do. He has no wand. He has to start learning to do things like the Muggle way. He starts to appreciate like the small things like, you know, making a coffee or making a tea. Trying to keep himself entertained by reading books, and you know, Hermione's trying to change his viewpoints on Muggle. By like halfway through the book, like the plot changes from there, going into like safe houses because Hogwarts ends up going under attack. Without giving too much away, like it just becomes like the plot just flips so well, and like all these characters which you'd just forgotten about because they're in all the other books, they all come back into it. Like some of the relationships between like certain characters, I was like, oh. It just like makes sense. Yeah, I think it was really good. I think it was really well done. I gave it a 4-star rating. I didn't get like the 5-star feeling, but it was still really good. The spice was lovely, and just like the connection that they have was really good. Like you just really feel the connection, the solace that Hermione brings Draco to like all the dark times that he has. You can just really feel it through the book, and I loved that. I loved it so much. It was like definitely, like I definitely will remember this one because it was just like a very unique plot. After that point I ended up finishing that probably maybe on the last day of the month, and I've gone straight into another. I know I've got to stop. So those were the 7 books I read this month. I actually had such an incredible month. But do you know what it is? I think it's because I'm just obsessed with these fan fictions, and like nothing is topping them. Like reading a published book is such a effort to me right now. As I'd mentioned before, like I feel like a lot of books are just writing books for the sake of having tropes in them. I really don't care about the characters, and like the plots just are very repetitive and boring. I'm not getting the spark that I need to feel invested in a book, and that's what Hermione is giving me right now. So I'm just loving it. And if you haven't already read them, please try read one of these books, or if you've not already read Manacled, if you can handle the content, read that because it's so incredible. Anyway, this isn't a recommendation video like that, but maybe I should do a separate video going through all of my favorite Hermione books. At this point I'm gonna have to start learning how to bind my own books. I know some of them. I need to have them on my shelf like a trophy. Like I can't just have no more books because I'm just reading fan fictions. Oh, help me. How have I had this coffee 20 minutes later? It is lukewarm. I need to reheat this. That is my wrap up for November. I really appreciate you if you're still here with me listening to me ramble about these books. I again have had another great month, and I'm very rare to have months like this, so just take my word for it. All of these books were incredible. Highly recommend all of them. If there's any other videos you would like to see me film this month coming up, please let me know. I've got a couple of ideas, especially just like wrapping up for the end of the year. I appreciate you guys and I love you so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.